I have to say I'm probably guilty, based on Lopez's former win against Lomachenko, of kind of getting swept up in the Lopez train.
You must be deluded when your boys got dropped in round one to be like, he won every round. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to Boxing and Bantz. These ladies are wicked.
Hey guys, it's your girl Sham at Boxing and Bantz, and this evening I'm joined by Melissa of MZ Boxing. Melissa, welcome. Melissa runs MZ Boxing, so go check her out. She does boxing news and interviews. Check out her YouTube, check out her Instagram. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sham. I'm really, really excited to be here. It's really long overdue.
I know.
So it's really good. It's really good to be here.
So we're here to talk all things TEOFIMO Lopez and George Kambosos Jr. And the split decision win to Kambosos Jr., who is now unified world lightweight champ, holding the WBA, WBO, IBF, and also the ring belts. Mel, what did you think? What did you make of the fight? You know, our viewers should know as well that Melissa's also a boxing trainer, so I'm really interested to know what you thought of their strategies going into the fight.
Yeah. Oh man, what a fight. Like, it was just amazing. You know, I embarrassingly, or should I say confession on my part, I didn't actually watch it at the time it was on. Like, I didn't watch it live.
Never did I. Never did I.
So
Can't stay up that late anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I'm over 30, so that's not a thing. But yeah, I watched it the next morning and I was just like, you know, I don't know if you have the same thing, Sham. Like, sometimes I really love boxing, you really love boxing, but there are some fights where you're just like, I don't even know why I enjoy this. Like, it's just so dull, right? And this was like pretty much the polar opposite of that feeling. I remember I was just like on the edge of my seat, like goosebumps throughout the whole thing, just like, oh my God, what's going to happen next? Like, the fight was incredible from a boxing fan perspective. What did I think of the strategies? Well, I thought that George Kambosos Jr. fought pretty much he had the perfect strategy against TEOFIMO Lopez, in the fact that he understood that TEOFIMO Lopez had come in there to get the knockout, and he just had an answer for everything. And I thought it was fantastic. In terms of Lopez, like, why are we not making the appropriate adjustments when our plan A is not going to plan? This
is it. His corner, and they play. I think people underestimate how much, you know, impact your corner and your team behind you actually has on you during that moment, because they can see it from eyes, I guess, that, you know, you wouldn't see yourself in the ring.
100%. I mean, yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it? Because the corner was giving quite conflicting advice, like, take your time, but like, go for the kill. It's like, how does your boxer do both of those things at the same time? What do you mean by that exactly? You know? Yeah. I think that you hit the nail on the head. Your corner, from an not objective, but from an outsider's perspective, has a different view than you have. Like, I totally get this. Like, you know, there have been times where I've been sparring and I felt like, yeah, like I totally got the better of that round. And then I've watched it back and I'm like, oh, I look like dog shit. Like, what's going on here, right? So you're absolutely correct in that the outsider's perspective can be really helpful. But similarly, when I speak to boxers, they also they have the advantage of being in the ring with that person. And it surprises me that when the fight finished, Lopez had scored it like 10 rounds in his own favor and 2 rounds to Kambosos Jr. I was like, what experience did you have?
Let me skip back a little bit. Did you watch the press conference before the fight?
You're really putting me on the spot. I didn't actually watch it. What happened?
So at the press conference, you know, they were both giving it the big I am. the dads were, Lopez Senior was up on stage, and Kambosos Senior was out in the audience. The two of them got in each other's faces. They were, I'm gonna knock you out first round, all of that. And I have to say, I'm probably guilty, based on Lopez's former win against Lomachenko, of kind of getting swept up in the Lopez train. So as good as I think Kambosos is, I didn't expect him to win, which I guess is why they're calling it an upset. I just wondered what you thought, what your initial, before the fight, who had you anticipated winning?
Yeah, great question. I certainly got swept up. Okay, so let me skip back a little bit as well. So basically, when everyone knows, or everyone who knows me knows that I am a bit Lomachenko obsessed. Yeah. Like, I love this. Yes. Like, you get it, right? He's awesome. And so when Lopez won against Lomachenko and took all of those belts and whatever, like, I was a little bit heartbroken. Like, it took me a full 24 hours to process what was going on. So I certainly got swept up in this fight. I definitely had Lopez as the favorite to win, and also guilty of not knowing too much about Kambosos Jr. Had seen him box maybe once or twice, not seen him live. I mean, I watched his fights a couple of times, but I didn't have as big an understanding of him as a boxer as I probably should have had to give a fair opinion. So I definitely got swept up in the hype, really had Lopez as the favorite to win. And like, it was a real pleasant, I think, surprise, because also the other thought that I had that followed on from this fight was that, okay, so now Lopez is talking about moving up a weight category. Cool. Kambosos Jr. has all the belts. Devin Haney's going to be fighting next weekend. I know that Lomachenko's fighting Commey on the 11th of December. Does this mean that Lomachenko is like gonna have a resurgence and, go and get his crown back and sit on the throne again? I mean, obviously that's my hope, but yeah, very surprising for me.
Interesting. What did you make of the knockdown in round one, where Kambosos knocked down Lopez, which I think it just came out of left field for me. I was just like literally couldn't say a word. I didn't expect it.
Yeah, perfect timing, like absolutely perfect timing. That short, like, right hand, I think it was an overhand right, but it was short, right on the button, caught Lopez on as he was, advancing. So it was that collision. It's that kind of collision thing, like, definitely had it in the, like, in sparring where I've been going forward and someone's thrown a punch, and perhaps they haven't even intended it to be 100% power, but it's like literally that collision course, and it's like, whoa, that rocks my head. So it was that, but I think it was a shock because obviously everyone has Lopez down as the big puncher. He's had these insane knockouts in his career. So to see him go down in round one, particularly when I heard on the grapevine that he had said, maybe I even heard it in the commentary, where he had said to his fans, like, if you're my fan, you should bet on me getting a first round knockdown victory. So I was like, the poetic justice of saying something like that and then ending up on the canvas in round one is like, it's pretty amazing.
We're going to go on to that later, actually, because I want to discuss some of the things that he's been saying leading up to it. Okay. I mean, from my perspective, the way that fight went, Lopez fought the fight I expected him to fight, to be honest. He kept up a lot of pressure. He put him straight on the back foot. He kept him on the back foot for a lot of the fight. I think he kept the pressure up, I would say, to about round 7 or so. And then I noticed the tiredness start to creep in, and it, but it was, for me, quite a close fight. I don't know what you thought, but, for me, it was pretty close.
I mean, it was a close fight. And I think the fact that it was a split decision victory proves that. And yeah, I think that you're right. You're 100% right. It was a close fight. It wasn't like, oh, yeah, no, that was a controversial win or anything like that. Or, I think the key thing here is that you're correct. Lopez put the pressure on Kambosos, had him backing up. The thing with Kambosos Jr. is he counter-punched and counter just countered that style really, really effectively. And he had that volume behind him. So he was throwing threes and fours, and obviously they're landing. Whereas Lopez was not working behind his jab. He wasn't actually doing much. He was throwing the jab, it would connect. Nothing was back coming off of it, like another jab or a right hand or anything. And I think it was clear that he was definitely looking for this knockout, which, you know, if it's not there for you for the taking, looking for it is not gonna make your game plan any better.
What do you think, you know, with your trainer hat on, what do you think Teofimo could have done differently in this fight?
Oh, a whole bunch of stuff. I think that the first thing he could have done is not overlook his opponent. The second thing that he could have done is not bought into his own hype as much. You know, just have that little bit of humility about you and not gone into the ring super complacent. And I think, you know, Lopez Senior has a bit to do with this as well. I think thirdly, much like Lomachenko didn't do against Lopez himself, which is not change the strategy that's clearly not working in your favor, he also didn't change the strategy. He continued to look for that knockout or knockdown. And although, you know, he got Kambosos Jr. on the canvas in round 10, I think you said it was, you know, it wasn't enough to finish. Yeah. So at some point, I think he could have changed the strategy. And I think the advice from the corner should have been, follow up with something behind the jab. You've landed that jab, follow up with another couple of punches, you know.
Something he's not perhaps expecting. Agreed. What did you make of the scorecards? They were 115 to 111 to Kambosos, 115 to 112 to Kambosos, and then 114 to 113 Lopez. Do they sound reasonable to you?
I think the two that were in favor of Kambosos certainly is how I was scoring it. I would agree with those. I don't, obviously, because I had Kambosos ahead, I don't agree with the split decision. However, it is a really subjective sport, boxing, isn't it? And it is what you're looking for, I suppose. But it's not so far out left field that I'm like, whoa, that's nuts. You know, I'm like, okay, all right.
Yeah. They're not crazy scorecards, certainly. I felt that because I felt it was quite close. The 115 to 111 slightly wider than I would have given, because I felt it was very close. But generally, yeah, I thought the scorecards were fair.
I think there's been loads of controversial decisions of, maybe not even of late, but there are generally quite a lot of controversial decisions within boxing. And I felt like that one, I was like, yeah, the right man won. I felt quite like content, you know.
I think everybody, I mean, you know, he's such you know, certainly leading up to this fight, like, you know, George has been so much more humble and, you know, flying the flag for Australia. He's the underdog, isn't he, really? So, you know, when you see the underdog win, it gives you kind of like a nice feeling, and you're just happy for them. You touched on Lopez Senior earlier on. I think it's fair to say he's been quite vocal in the build up to this fight. Personally, I think slightly too vocal for the stage that Lopez is at in his career. I know that sounds crazy because he had the belts, but my feeling is that sometimes when you bolster someone too much, as you said, they can end up overlooking their opponents because they feel that they've already made it, and then almost the hunger goes, you know. So it's interesting. Obviously, he beat one of the best pound for pound boxers, so obviously, you know, his ego is going to be up there. But I do wonder if maybe they just need to come back to the drawing board a little bit and just say, you know, right, let's get that fire back, that hunger back.
Yeah, I think you're right. And like, I think that overlooking opponents is really dangerous. I mean, we saw it with Anthony Joshua v. Ruiz the first time round, you know, like everyone felt like he'd overlooked Ruiz, and then whoa, like what happened, crazy shit. And I think this is a kind of a similar thing, but like probably less crazy in some regards. But I think you're right. Like I listened to an interview that Senior gave after the loss, and I don't know, like he was kind of likening their team to that of Mayweather, and I was like, that's a bit much. However, I'm not sure if I agree with the this is the funny thing with pro boxing, you'll get a loss or the team will get a loss, and the fans will just like kind of get their little pitchforks out against the trainer, being like, oh, you must change your trainer, you must change teams. It's like, okay, let's all slow our roll, because let's not also forget the successes that team has had and that trainer has had. I agree with you 100%. I'm not really a fan of that whole arrogant shit in boxing, because it's a blood sport, so it's like anything can happen, and arrogance is not going to help you in this. You can talk a good game, but let's see what happens on fight night. However, I'm not sure if it's fair to be like, oh, Lopez should now change trainer. More so, Lopez and his team should work on some of that advice given in the corner, so it's not conflicting.
I definitely know. I don't think he should change trainer. What I wonder more, it's a funny one actually, because I love all the sort of like the back and forth at the press conferences, and like I love all that kind of stuff. He has me on the edge of my seat. But I do wonder sometimes when you talk up your boxer so much to the point that this is how you now look, and actually now he's still refusing to accept that. I don't know if you've seen any of the post-fight interviews, but he says that Teofimo won every round. So he's refused to accept any any kind of loss, and he makes it sound like a conspiracy, which makes me wonder, actually, is there a little bit of delusion going on? I like the team, but I think sometimes just do the talking in the ring, You
must be deluded when your boys got dropped in round 1 to be like, he won every round. Let's be fair. Do you know what I mean?
It's crazy. It's crazy. Okay. Where do you see George Kambosos going now? He's got all but one of the belts. Devin Haney has the WBC. Oddly, some people are saying that actually that means Kambosos is not the unified champ because he doesn't have the WBC. And obviously we know it's the most prestigious, but by rules, he's unified champ. Where does he go from here?
It's a good question. I think that obviously what the fans would love to see is the winner of the Haney-Diaz fighting Kambosos Jr., so that there is an undisputed champion at the lightweight division. It's a great one, because obviously Eddiehearn is, him and dazn, they're global. They keep promoting the fact that it's a global platform. Now they have an Australian champ. Very, very likely that there's going to be some dazn Australia, unification, something like this from a business perspective. I think that I would love to see an undisputed fight against the winner of Haney-Diaz. Sorry, my tongue got tongue-tied. I would love to see, Kambosos Jr. facing the winner of that fight for an undisputed.
Yep.
And it's just such a stacked division as well. So it would be great to see, some of them fighting against each other and then coming up and challenging for those titles. That's what I would like to see as a fan.
Mm-hmm. And Teofimo Lopez, what's his next move? I've heard that, they're talking about bringing him up to 140, super lightweight, possibly Josh Taylor next year. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I definitely think that it's unfortunate really that he didn't vacate and go up before the loss, which would have kind of made sense if he was already considering going up. Mm-hmm. Again, speaks to probably overlooking Kambosos Jr., who is, mandatory, and you don't become mandatory for no reason. Back to the drawing board, build yourself back up. He's got a great portfolio. And the loss doesn't take away from that.
Mm-hmm. Got it. Okay, well, it's been lovely listening to your thoughts and giving your insight. And can I say how lovely it is to have another female on the show? We haven't had too many, so that's lovely. We got some more UK boxing this weekend with Anthony Yard and Lyndon Arthur, the rematch. Will you be watching that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, I love the rematch. I mean, I quite enjoyed the first fight. And I was at the pre-press conference, I suppose, or like the very early press conference they had for this rematch.
Yeah.
And it was very lively, very, very lively. The two coaches for the two corners we're all like, is it going to kick off? Pat Barrett not versus, then but it did seem like they should have a head to head.
It was like a versus, yeah.
It was like a versus. Pat Barrett and Tunde Ajayi. So I'm very, very keen to see what happens in that fight. What's your predictions out of interest?
Oh, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. My head is telling me that Yard takes it this time. I absolutely love the both of them individually because they're different types of boxers, different personalities completely as well. I just think after all the furore that's happened this time, I think Anthony Yard is going to go in quite heated from round one. I don't think it's going to be the same kind of fight as the first one. So, and as you know, for the most part, Yard's wins have been knockouts. So I certainly think he's got the punch power. However, Lyndon's got his skills too. He's got an amazing jab, as we all know, which he used very effectively last time. So I just don't know. But if I have to be pushed for an answer, I'm going to say I think Yard will take it this time.
Interesting. Yeah, it's a hard one to call for sure. It's a very, very hard one to call. If I had to put my money on it, oh God, it's really tricky. If I had to put my money on it, I think, do you know what? I'm gonna say that I would put my money on Lyndon Arthur to win.
Mm-hmm.
Should we do an in-house bet? Should we do a little in-house bet?
Maybe after the cameras will stop rolling.
Good shout. I think it'll be a points victory for Lyndon Arthur.
Okay, that's fair. It's happened, so that's a fair prediction.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks again for joining us, Mel. It's been lovely. Do you want to give everybody your socials and where they can find you?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you so much for having me on. Like, really overdue, and it's so nice to talk boxing details with another female. So I appreciate that. And shout out to Katie, who couldn't be here because she's not feeling very well.
It's not well today.
Yeah. So you guys can find me on Instagram. What are my handles? Great question. So Melissa_Zad is my personal, and mz.boxing is my boxing page. And you can also find me on YouTube at mzboxing. And yeah, thank you so much. And don't forget to share, like, and subscribe to Boxing and Bantz. These ladies are wicked.
Oh, lovely. Thank you so much. Everyone go check her out.